This book is not a novel. It is not a fairy tale, and it is certainly not a religious sermon. This book is my cry, my testimony, my journey, and maybe also yours. For years I struggled with guilt, with desire, with doubt. With God I knew his name. I had heard of Jesus. I had given my life to him. But at the same time, I lived my own life and kept him at a distance. Just far enough not to surrender, yet close enough to keep hoping that it would all be fine. But then comes that moment when everything falls silent, when your soul can no longer look away. That moment is now for you. In this book, I take you through 3 realms: the glory of heaven, the mirror of the second chance, and the unimaginable reality of hell. Based on deep spiritual insight, raw life experience, and the truth of the Bible, this book is a call to wake up. A cry of love, a final warning. For one thing is certain, you will end up somewhere, and the choice is yours now. We are living in the end times. The Bible speaks of it. Just look around. The war in Gaza and the rising hatred against Israel, massive fires and floods, climate change, the hardening of people's hearts, world leaders failing, economies shaking, and every day it becomes harder to make ends meet. Things are not getting better, they are getting worse. And it has all been foretold. That is why it is so important that you choose God now, before you close your eyes for the last time on this earth. There is life after death. This life is only the entrance hall to eternity, and you must choose heaven or hell. Now is the time, for if you do not choose, you automatically choose hell. Be aware of that. In this book, you will also read about a second chance world that is not in the Bible, but came from my imagination. A mirror to make you reflect more deeply. Could it exist? Only God knows. Read this book. Be amazed at how beautiful heaven is. Read why you must never ever end up in hell. And let this be the moment you choose for Jesus, for eternal life. From the very beginning of the world to this day, stories of encounters with God have been passed down through generations, each one a unique testament to his boundless love and mysterious ways. Today, we delve into one such story, a narrative that unfolds across realms, echoing the timeless themes of redemption, grace, and the intricate dance between heaven and earth. The story begins with the traveler after death, a soul named Nathaniel, journeying into the vast, luminous expanse of the heavenly world. He is offered a second chance, an opportunity to understand the life he left behind. We witness a day of a soul in heaven, filled with light and peace, a stark contrast to a day in the second chance world, where echoes of earthly struggles remain. A heavenly encounter with a guide reveals Nathaniel's heavenly calling, a mission of heavenly influence. This calling leads to the homecoming of one, a soul named Jennifer, whose life was intertwined with his. The great recognition at the great heavenly feast solidifies their shared purpose and eternal calling. The descent back to a realm mirroring Earth marks the arrival of Nathaniel. An unexpected meeting with a troubled soul leads to reconciliation in action as they walk side by side. Nathaniel begins teaching about light, but soon must face a transition, the other way, a darker path where another soul is lost. Day 1 is mirrored in sorrow, followed by Day 2, the day of the voice, where a faint cry for help is heard. Day 3 is the day of the calling, a summons to intervene. This leads to the workshops of recovery, where the first student arrives, forming the circle of open hearts. The mission of grace becomes a star in the darkness. We see the return of Jennifer, who joins the effort. Witness 30 Hell Part 1, The Descent 31. Hell Part 2, What a Soul Experiences 32. Hell Part 3, The Gates Close 33. Hell Part 4, Confessing in the Dark 34. Hell Part 5, The Separation 35. Hell Part 6, Choose Him Now 36. A Letter from Jesus to You 37. Where Do You Want to Go to 38. Heaven Part 12, The Arrival of 139. Heaven Part 13, The Voice of the Redeemed Soul 40. The Final Call, The Eternal Choice. When my eyes closed for the last time on earth, I felt no fear. No darkness, only silence. A warm silence, as if someone was holding me gently yet firmly. My body remained behind just as I had always known it would. Dust to dust, but my consciousness, my soul and spirit were fully alive. I felt the difference immediately. I was not my body. I had only possessed it temporarily. I traveled. No pearly gates with golden streets, no sea of flames, but a journey through light, sound, silence and colors I had never seen on earth. It was as if I was sliding through layers of reality, and with each layer I remembered more of who I truly was. Then I arrived, not on a cloud, but on another world, a planet somewhere in the universe, or perhaps beyond space and time, and yet it was real. Breath, scent, warmth, everything was there. This place was for people who had put their trust in God, not because they were perfect, but because they loved. Trusted, sought, sometimes stumbling, sometimes struggling. But they had sought God with their hearts, and He had found them. The world was magnificent. Mountains like crystal, fields full of life and peace deep, all-encompassing peace. No mourning, no guilt, no shame, only home, but not everyone came there. There was another world, not dark, not cruel, but instructive. A planet where the soul was confronted with its choices, where people who had not known God or had consciously rejected Him were given the chance to learn, to grow, to choose again. Not punishment, but righteous grace. I saw how some went there with tears, with confusion, but also with hope. For even there, God's light still shone, though in the distance. They would understand. They would choose once more. And whoever chooses love ultimately chooses God. I understood then the universe is not empty. It is a house with many rooms, and God dwells in each of them. My journey was not over yet, but I knew I am safe, and I am not alone. The sky had no sun, yet there was light. Not bright, not harsh, but warm, living light that seemed to come from everywhere. It radiated from the trees, from the ground, from the mountains in the distance, and even from the beings that lived there. I breathed in, and it felt as if my lungs were truly filled for the first time, not just with air, but with peace. The heavens changed color like music, soft blue, silver white, deep gold, and colors for which I had no name. And with each change, I felt my inner tone resonate along. Everything on this planet was alive, not in fear, not in struggle, but in harmony. The houses were not buildings like on Earth. They seemed to grow out of the ground itself, shaped by desire, love, and the unique soul of the one who lived there. My dwelling was already waiting for me. No lock, no door, only an invitation. Everything was open because here, nothing was hidden. There were fields full of flowers that sang when the wind passed through them. Trees whose fruits shone like gemstones, and at the same time were nourishing, sweet, and healing. Animals, beautiful, wise, peaceful, roamed freely. Some I knew from Earth, others I had never seen before, and yet I recognized them, as if they had always lived in my heart. We communicated without words when needed, soul to soul. And yet I could sing, laugh, speak, because every form of expression was welcome here, and more beautiful than ever. Music sounded from afar, not concerts, not performances. There was work, but no drudgery. Everyone contributed to the greater whole in their own way. Some planted heavenly gardens, others guided newly arrived souls. Still others created art from light and movement. And on certain days, someone came by, not as a king with a crown, but as a friend with eyes that saw everything and yet remained full of love. When he looked at you, you knew you are known and fully accepted. Those eyes made you melt inside, and yet you never wanted to look away. There were no days here, no time as on Earth, and yet everything felt like an eternal moment of now, without haste, without end, without loss. This was not a reward. This was coming home. The arrival was different. No music, no brilliance, no celebration, only silence. A soft, honest silence. Not hostile, but not comforting either. I knew instantly, I am here to learn. The sky was gray, yet not dark. A kind of eternal twilight hung over the landscape. No sun, yet warmth, no rain, yet no dryness. Everything here was in between, as if the world itself was waiting just like me. The ground felt firm, yet heavy. My steps left traces not like footprints in sand, but like memories in time. Everything I had thought, felt, and done on Earth seemed to have become tangible here. Not as punishment, but as a mirror. Here, you literally walked among your choices, and you could not look away. There were other souls like me, some silent, others struggling. Some tried to hide, but soon discovered there is nothing to hide here. Everything comes to light, yet that light is not cruel. It is honest, painfully honest, and healing. On this planet, you could not move forward until you acknowledged who you truly were. No excuses, no masks. You had to face yourself exactly as God had always seen you. Not to shame you, but to set you free. There were guides, not humans, but beings of light and compassion. Some looked like what we would call angels. They did not speak much, but when they did, it cut through soul and bone, always in love. They reminded you of who you could have been and who you still could become. The nature here was more austere than on the heavenly planet. Rocks, mist, barren trees, yet sometimes a flower would bloom, and it blossomed at the exact moment someone dared to embrace a truth. Every sign of life was proof that someone had chosen hope over guilt. Some souls remained here for a long time, others only briefly. No one knew how long their path would take, only that every step inward was also a step upward. And then, one day, when your heart finally broke with remorse, and at the same time was filled with longing for the truth you had once rejected, a light appeared in the distance. No tunnel, no gate, just a direction, and you knew, there he is, not to punish, but to embrace you. Because even here, you were still being sought. There is no time as on earth, but to make it understandable, we still use the idea of morning, afternoon, and evening, purely symbolic. In reality, every day in heaven is a flowing, living stream of eternal joy. Morning awakening in peace and light. Your body is no longer earthly, but glorified, radiant, powerful, without sickness or aging. Like Jesus' resurrection body, tangible yet also spiritual. No fatigue, no pain, no limitation. You rise without heaviness, no back pain, no stiffness. You awaken from deep peace, not from the need for sleep. Rest is not from exhaustion, but as a holy pause, a deep connection with God. Your surroundings are alive. Birds sing melodies that touch your soul. The air is fresh, filled with the fragrance of flowers that never fade. Trees bend gently in a heavenly breeze as if greeting you. You begin your day with an encounter, sometimes with angels, sometimes with loved ones who went before you, or with a walk along crystal rivers where the water seems to whisper the wisdom of God. Afternoon, working together with joy. Every soul has a heavenly calling, not work as on earth, but a joyful contribution to God's eternal creation. Some create colors, light, music. Others welcome newly arrived souls. Still others cultivate heavenly gardens or study the mysteries of the universe. You learn, you grow, you celebrate. Everything happens in loving cooperation. There is no jealousy, no hurry, no competition, only abundance and harmony, food. Yes, but not from necessity. Fruits of life are eaten for joy, as celebration, as fellowship. The taste is unmatched. There is also the meal of communion, where you gather with others in unity, an eternal reminder of the wedding feast of the Lamb. Evening worship, rest, and encounter with God. You spend time in worship, not out of obligation, but because it is irresistible. Your soul is naturally lifted to God. Music flows from your being. You worship with who you are, not just with words, and at the same time you are filled with His glory. Sometimes the King Himself appears. You don't need to seek Him, He seeks you out. And when you meet Him, all your questions fade away. Only love remains, deep, intense love. You rest not from weariness, but from fullness. Your soul gently returns to your dwelling of light, wrapped in peace. You know you are home, and tomorrow will be just as beautiful. And there is never sorrow, no shadow of grief, no memory of loss, only the memory of redemption, of grace, of love that found you. Dawn begins without a sun, yet there is light, soft, grayish, like the early morning light on a misty day. The air is still, no birds, no music, only the breathing of the soul and the rhythm of a world that does not rest but waits. Your body is still not earthly, but it feels heavy, not with pain, but with awareness. Here you feel the consequences of your choices, not as punishment, but as a mirror. Everything in this world keeps you honest. You awaken in a place that adapts to your inner state. Some dwell in a stone room with simple rest. Others walk in an empty landscape. No walls to imprison you, yet no doors to hide behind. Each day you stand face to face with who you have truly become. The morning begins with inner work. You encounter mirrors, some literal, some people reflecting your old behavior. You see your pride, your hardness, your indifference, your lies. Not with hatred, but with truth. Sometimes someone weeps. Sometimes a soul cries out in frustration or regret. And always, someone is present at a distance, a silent guide of light. He does not force you, but his gaze invites. Do you dare to see who you are? Do you want to grow? There are teachers, not harsh, but steadfast. They guide you, showing you the stories of your life. You literally walk through scenes from your past, not as a spectator, but as a participant with a renewed conscience. In the afternoon, you are invited to act. You practice love, service, humility, not because you must, but because you are beginning to desire it. You help other souls. You ask forgiveness from those you hurt on earth. Some are here, others elsewhere, yet the connection is restored. Sometimes there is work, planting trees in barren soil, repairing broken places, building something beautiful with others. Every act of goodness restores not only the world around you, but also your own soul. And when you see someone flourish, when suddenly a flower opens in a desolate plain, or light shines from someone's hands, you know, here, someone has chosen truth and love. In the evening, some souls gather at the light point, a distant, radiant place on the horizon. Not everyone may go there, but if your heart is open, you are called. You gaze silently at that light. You know the one dwells there, and he is still willing to receive you whenever you truly desire him. Sometimes someone returns from that journey, and then everything changes. Their body becomes lighter, their eyes clear, their presence gentle. That soul is almost ready, and everyone knows it. No one is jealous. All are encouraged, and you close your eyes, not from weariness, but from surrender. And you pray, sometimes for the first time, sometimes for the 1,000th time. Lord, I want to know you. Every day is a chance. Every tear a beginning of healing, and every step closer to love is a step closer to the home you always knew deep within. When I awoke, it was as if I had been born again, not as a baby, but as myself, yet restored. My body felt light, powerful, full of life. No pain, no weariness, no scars from the past, not visible, not tangible, not even in my memory. My skin radiated a gentle glow like pure light. My hands moved without trembling. My legs were like those of a young man, steady and strong, yet supple as the wind across the fields. My heart beat without fear, and my eyes saw sharper than ever. I could even feel life tingling in the flowers around me. Every color sang. I did not move in haste, but in freedom. Everything I did flowed like music. My voice sounded different, richer, deeper, yet softer. And I knew this is who I truly am. Not disguised, not broken, but reborn in glory. I walked along a river of crystal clear water. Trees grew there, their leaves like fire, yet unburning. They rustled gently, almost calling me by name. And then, suddenly, I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around, and there stood my mother, not as I had known her in her final years, but young, radiant, full of joy, her eyes brighter than ever before. She smiled with a warmth that poured straight into my soul, and without words, I fell into her arms. No tears, no sorrow, only an embrace that erased 1,000 years of longing in a single moment. Behind her came others, my grandparents, friends I had lost, familiar faces I had not expected, but who knew me and had been waiting for me. Some came singing, others laughing, some in silence, yet with eyes full of light. And then I heard music. We were led into a garden filled with tables, not in long rows or strict order, but each sat where love called him. On the tables were bowls of fruit that sparkled like stars, yet soft as peaches. There was bread, golden brown and warm, smelling like memory and tasting like grace. Wine that brought no drunkenness but joy. Fruits that nourished and healed. We ate together, not from hunger but from fellowship. Every bite was a prayer, every laugh a song. And in the middle of the feast, he came. not with thunder and lightning, but simply walking among us, Jesus the risen one. His eyes like fire, his voice like water, his nearness like peace beyond all words. He sat down, he broke bread, and he looked at me. "Welcome home, Charlie," he said. I could do nothing but nod. My heart was full. I had arrived. After the meal at that table of light, Jesus led me further into the garden. We walked in silence. No words were needed, yet everything spoke. The wind, the grass beneath my feet, the rustling of the trees, the breath of eternity. He brought me to an open field where others were at work. Some were singing worlds into being, others painted with light. Some were teaching children who had just come over from the earth how deeply loved they had always been. I looked around and I felt something burning in my heart. Not pain, but longing. Then he looked at me. "Charlie," he said, "on earth you suffered much. You were misunderstood. Your heart was often torn. And yet you kept believing. You kept searching. You kept loving. Now I want you to use that heart to guide souls who arrive here. You know the sorrow of the earth and the power of hope." I felt his words not only in my mind, they sank into my spirit. I was allowed to become a guide, a shepherd at the heavenly threshold, one who receives newly arrived souls, confused, astonished, sometimes weeping with joy, sometimes still bearing wounds from the old life, and leads them toward restoration. My dwelling became a house of homecoming, not a castle, not a throne, but a warm place with fragrant trees, a gentle brook, wooden benches that breathed rest. Everyone who entered felt seen. And I listened, I spoke. I prayed along. Sometimes I simply kept silent, for in heaven silence also speaks. At times I was allowed to descend to the second chance world, not physically but spiritually, as encouragement, as a whisper in a prayer. I sowed hope in a heart still searching, not forcefully, but as a reminder, you are not written off. God is still waiting. And when a soul then rose up from that world, broken, healed, free, I stood there, not as a judge, not as a hero, but as a brother, and we fell into each other's arms, and together we walked toward the light. That was my calling. Not great in the eyes of many, but great in the eyes of him who formed me. And every day I knew, this is joy without end. The first time I felt it, I was simply sitting quietly on the bank of the river of peace. The water rippled like a song I had once heard, perhaps as a child. I could not recall exactly. My hands rested in my lap, but my spirit suddenly grew warm, as if a thread of light connected me to the earth. I closed my eyes, and then I saw her. My daughter, Jennifer. She was sitting at her kitchen table, her head in her hands, tired, searching, perhaps sorrowful. The children were asleep. The world was asleep, but her heart was crying out. I could not touch her, not speak with words, but my spirit sent love. Not as human pity, but as a gentle, holy stream, a whisper of strength. I felt how her breath shifted for a moment, how she lifted her head, how her heart began to sense something she herself could not explain. That was me, or rather, that was the love of God flowing through me. From heaven we, those who are called to be guides, watchers, guardians of the light, are given the ability to turn our hearts toward those we still love. No control, no interference, but pure spiritual influence like dew upon thirsty ground. Sometimes I prayed without words. Sometimes I was welcomed into a heavenly choir of prayer, where we sang together for those on earth who were struggling. Our songs wove themselves into dreams, into inspirations, into comforting words spoken by others at precisely the right moment. I saw how Jennifer rose, how she took up her guitar, how she sang, and I knew the Spirit had touched her. Perhaps not through me, but my love had joined in. Not only her, I saw friends, former loved ones, people who had forgotten me but whom I could not forget. Each of them I carried before God, not to steer their lives, but to surround their hearts. And sometimes, very sometimes, they dreamed of me, a dream in which I looked at them with a smile, or sat upon a bench, or gave them something they could not hold, yet which filled them with peace. They did not know it was real, but I knew it was. For in heaven, there is no distance that love cannot bridge. And Jesus said to me, as long as they are on earth, you are their silent witness. When they seek me, they may also sense something of you. not as a mediator, but as a reminder of how great my love truly is. I was sitting beneath the tree of life, a place where souls often rested after their task, after an encounter, or simply to be near God. His presence was tangible there in every leaf, every breeze, every breath. Suddenly the air shifted, not a storm, not panic. My spirit grew alert, not tense, but open. Someone was coming home. And then I saw him, a man, perhaps in his mid-30s, not like an earthly 30-something, no wrinkles of worry, no weariness in his eyes. He looked around as if he were dreaming, as if he feared it was not real. And then his eyes met mine. He stopped. His gaze changed. First doubt, then recognition. Then tears. He began to tremble. "You," he whispered, "you don't know me, but I know you." I stood, walked toward him, and without hesitation I wrapped my arms around him. He began to weep, out of wonder, out of relief, out of healing. Not from shame, here tears healed, they do not condemn. "You were the one who prayed when I was about to give up," he said. "I don't know how, but your words entered my heart. I did not hear your voice with my ears, but with my soul. You prayed for me while you didn't know me. You sent light when all I saw was darkness," I remembered. In my time in heaven, I had at moments felt compelled to pray for someone unknown. A young man, struggling. I did not know his name. I did not know his face. But I felt his battle tug at my own heart. Now here he stood and he shone. "After that night," he said, "I began to seek God. I didn't know why, but I could no longer continue as I had. I came to faith, and now," he looked around, his eyes began to gleam like those of every soul coming home. "Now I am here by God's grace, but also because of you," I shook my head. "No," I said softly, "because of Jesus. But I was allowed to be a thread in the web of love that drew you here." He laughed through his tears. "Then you are the thread I will never forget." We walked together into the garden, where others awaited him. Angels, guides, people he had loved on earth. But before he went further, he turned back one more time. "Thank you, Charlie," he said. "You touched my soul when no one else could." And I knew no prayer, no act of love, no whisper of hope had ever been in vain. All had been seen by God. All had been seed that in his time would bear fruit. And now one more stood in the light, and I was allowed to witness it.